John stands in a room. Everything is black. He stretches out his hand. He can feel something wiry in front of him. Hay. A black mist lifts from the room. He's in the barn. John looks around the room. Red wooden walls, hay stacks on both sides of the barn, the wooden platforms above him. He can see the white light beaming in from the door. He looks at the floor. Blood. There's lots of blood. He follows the trail with his eyes and finds Ellis's body there, in a pool of blood on the floor. His guts ripped open, bite marks all over, on his face and neck as well. An intense feeling of guilt washes over John. He wasn't able to save Ellis. He was a good man. He was calm, never stressed too much about anything. He was always kind to people. But what hurts the most is the people he left behind. Jessica. And the baby too. It won't have a father. Ellis's eyes open, and his head slowly starts to turn. His whole body makes cracking sounds as the dead flesh moves. The sound sends cringes down John's spine. As Ellis's white eyes meet with John's, John notices the bullet hole in his head. The top right part of his skull has been blown open, and more blood is gushing out of the hole. Ellis's dead mouth begins to unnaturally crack open, and closed again. Ellis speaks in a very deep and intimidating voice. John opens his eyes again. He's awake. He turns his head rapidly to look around the room.
You're awake!
John turns his head to see Sam standing at the end of the room with a big smile on her face. She walks over. John tries to get up, but Sam puts her hand on his shoulder, pushing him onto the bed.
Hey, don't get up too fast. You gotta take it easy.
The two appear to be in a small infirmary. There are a few beds in the room, with one other patient at the end of the room. John groans. He can feel the pain now all over his body. His forehead is stinging, and his gut too. He touches his right ear. What's left of it? Well, that's definitely half his ear missing forever. Would make for a pretty cool story, though. What happened? John groans. Sam looks at the floor as she tries to recall, then looks back at John.
Well, we were attacked, remember?
I remember. They started shelling us.
Yeah, they did. That was scary. You were great, though.
Where are we? John asks, not acknowledging the compliment.
We're safe. Allied Command sent us as far from the front as possible. We're in the southernmost settlement they have.
John's heart starts to race, and he starts to sit up in his bed. Sam puts her hand on his chest to stop him.
Hey, what's wrong?
John lays back in his bed, feeling defeated and unable to get up again. When the zombies come, this will be the first place they attack.
Don't worry, John.
Sam leans her back on the wall and folds her arms.
We can handle a few zombies. And I'll watch out for you if I can.
John can see that she clearly doesn't understand how dangerous the threat actually is. She speaks again.
Technically, you're in charge of the outpost here. They needed to send the old commander and his men to the front. So it's just you, me, and a handful of other guys to watch over this place. Not that it really needs watching.
John feels the wound on his gut. He lifts up the blanket to see the damage. It's been stitched up. The shrapnel wound wasn't fatal, and seems to be healing nicely. John looks up at Sam. Did you stitch this? He asks with a concerned voice.
Do I look like a doctor?
Nope, John replies with a smirk. That's why I'm asking. John looks into her eyes, and she looks back. He never noticed this before, but Sam is actually very beautiful. They stare at each other for a moment. Sam blushes, and then opens her mouth to speak. The atmosphere is shattered, with the sound of a lamp breaking at the end of the room. The other patient is squirming around frantically in his bed. "No!" he calls out, appearing to be having a nightmare. "Stop!" Sam rushes over to comfort the man.
Hey, take it easy. It's just a dream.
Sam grabs the man on the shoulder. His eyes burst open as he grabs onto Sam's arm and holds it incredibly tightly, hurting her arm. He looks into her eyes with intense fear. Trying to ignore the pain, Sam looks back and tries to comfort him.
Relax. It was just a dream. You're safe here.
The man is sweating and breathing heavily. He looks around the room and at John.
Will you let go of my arm now?
Sam asks kindly, wondering how much more she can bear before she'll just smack him. He releases his grip and falls back into his bed, breathing a heavy sigh of relief. John walks over slowly, clutching his guts. "What happened to him?" he asks, sounding a little frustrated.
Nasty claw mark over his chest. A bear attacked him while he was on patrol.
"A bear!" the man yells wildly. He suddenly raises his top to reveal the mark of 4 nasty claws across his chest. "This was no bear."
Right. It was the werewolf, of course.
"Oh, you think that's funny?" the man says, not appreciating her attitude. "You wouldn't be laughing if you saw this thing. It walked on 2 legs like a human, but it was big, unusually big, and its skin..." The man stares into space, trying to conjure the image of the attack in his head. "Its face." He raises his hand in front of him in a clenched way, as if trying to feel its face. "And its eyes. They were so red, full of anger."
That's enough of your wacky stories, Malcolm. Come, I'll show you around.
Sam interrupts the Scotsman's story and leads John outside. The two step outside into the courtyard. They appear to be in an old stone fort. The perimeter is surrounded by a stone wall about 2 stories high. It's not particularly large. About 20 people live here. There are 3 wooden shacks built on the courtyard, the infirmary, a kitchen to prepare food, and some living quarters where people sleep in bunks. There are wooden benches and tables in the courtyard where people gather to eat. There's a smell of food in the air. Someone is cooking meat. John breathes in the smell, starting to get excited.
Chef's preparing dinner for everyone. Some of the guys brought in deer for us to eat the other day. Obviously, Allied Command wants us to be quite self-sufficient down here. Come, let me show you the upstairs too.
They walk up some wooden steps to the upper part of the wall where they can overlook the surrounding area. Upstairs are a few other rooms where more people have been bunking. Sam points out over the wall.
Look! The harvest is coming in.
John looks out to see a very green and yellow-looking wheat field.
We've been growing crops down here. That's Joe's place at the end of the field. His house and barn over there. They've been growing crops to feed the whole of the communities. Let me tell you, when your pal Jessica is in the kitchen, she bakes the best bread, cakes, brownies, you name it. She takes everything we bring her and makes some awesome stuff. The chef here is cool too, to be fair.
The sun is setting over the wheat field. This beautiful view brings John hope. He never saw how far the people of the Allied communities had come in rebuilding our lost world. With a few places like this, we could really support a large faction of people.
Blossom is here too, by the way. Your badass car. It's in the barn next to Joe's place.
John turns his head and stares into Sam's eyes once more. She returns his gaze. The two clearly have feelings towards each other. After a few moments, her eyes light up.
Oh, and I almost forgot.
Sam rummages around inside a bag next to them.
We got you this.
Sam presents, with a big smile, John's new gun, a Magnum revolver.
A very powerful gun. Don't ask me for any silver bullets, though.
She gives John a holster. He puts it on and holsters his gun on the left side of his chest, allowing him to quickly whip it out with his right hand if necessary. The sound of a bell ringing catches the attention of everyone. Sam and John turn to see Chef standing in the middle of the courtyard, ringing a bell.
That's the dinner bell.
Sam cheers. She pokes John in the belly and rushes down the stairs.
Come on, let's go!
Almost everyone in Joe's castle hurries out of different shacks around the place. They all take their seats in the courtyard, as John walks down the stairs, still clutching his belly, trying not to put too much strain on himself.